Sunday headlines. Republican candidate domestic J terrorist has now broken the record for the most sharks jumped in a single day. Electric sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads, no less. Trump now claiming he was the target of another assassination attempt in which none of it happened nearer than 400 yards away from him, and there's no video, and the preliminary ID of the suspect shows a career criminal who was posting about his dream ticket. Nikki, Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. And within minutes, Trump was fundraising off the event and trying to erase the memory of a post he had made earlier in the same day in which he declared, without context or rationality, quote, "I hate Taylor Swift," unquote. Meanwhile, his running mate Jayvee Vance has confessed on national television that he, quote, creates, unquote, stories like this lie about a city in the state he represents in the Senate, a lie that has led to the evacuation of schools there, of a hospital, of a university, and city offices. And if he cannot be forced to resign his office, there must be, at minimum, on the Senate floor today, a motion to expel or at least censure Jayvee Vance. Oh, and Kamala Harris's lead over this procession of train wrecks. So many train wrecks that some of them wrecked while still at the station. Some of them wrecked while still in the train sheds. Kamala Harris's lead has extended to 6 points among likely voters. Trump first. And for once, it is not me dropping the T word on him. It is his niece, Mary. Quote, Donald J. Trump is a domestic terrorist, unquote. Fact check. I thought we had established this in 2016.
Did you denounce the bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio?
I don't know what happened with the bomb threats. I know that it's been taken over by illegal migrants, and that's a terrible thing that happened. Springfield was this beautiful town, and now they're going through hell.
The correct answer to any question sounding like, do you denounce the bomb threat, is yes. Trump is, of course, incapable of that. Therefore, he is now an accessory to whatever happens in Springfield, Ohio. But of course, if somebody is seen with a gun near his golf course while he is playing on it, and how could they have ever known when Trump would be playing golf? That is an assassination attempt, according to Trump, and he is a martyr, and this was ordered by the Pope or somebody, and Laura Loomer will be rushing to the scene to serve as an almost human shield and stop any bullets with her 6-inch thick application of makeup. Or his. It will never, ever, ever dawn on any of these people that this is the America they wanted and that this is the America they have gotten. Spend a decade telling people in not-so-veiled words to commit acts of political violence, and you can't suddenly announce, but I didn't mean acts of political violence against me. Twice now, somebody, I'll note again, the first guy was another MAGA Republican gun nut who just wanted to shoot somebody. Twice now, somebody wanted to shoot Trump, and still not one of them will entertain the thought of just banning those kinds of weapons the shooters had. AK-47 this time, apparently. 4 days ago in Tucson, Trump literally praised AK-47s as if they were beautiful women. There is literally no synapse in his or their brains that could tie statements like that to what happened. Or more correctly, what didn't happen yesterday. There is also no synapse in their brains that could correctly answer the question, would you rather ban just AK-47s and AR-15s and the like, just those, or would you rather let somebody else try to shoot at Trump with one of them? For a guy whose cheese whiz is sliding off his Ritz cracker with ever-increasing speed, Trump had an amazingly busy Sunday. The I hate Taylor Swift post is actually real, actually fueled by something in his brain that thought it was somehow a good idea. It was followed exactly 20 minutes later by "The failing New York Times is a true threat to democracy," which was either about the Times piece on John Roberts customizing Supreme Court rulings to Trump's likings, or Trump has just joined our cause and was complaining about the latest in this Ohio Diner Times both sidesist nonsense, or And I confess for just a second, I dreamed things that never were and asked why not, and thought maybe he's referring to a letter to the editor in the Times, the one with the headline, "Held involuntarily in a psychiatric hospital," which continues to be the best possible compromise here. That will never be. Because early yesterday morning, Trump also posted, "The Democrats are destroying our country. Reverse deportation immediately." And I spent a couple of hours on this. And not only don't I know what he meant, but I can't find anybody who does know what he meant. Reverse deportation. That would have to be forcing foreign people into this country. And that would be a policy twist for Trump that would outdo even his about face on TikTok. Or maybe reverse deportation would have to mean that the nation must stop all plans to deport anybody out of here, in which case you better look around the room for Stephen Miller's head because it presumably exploded. Trump was replying to a complaint from one of his cultists about other cities in Alabama where local leaders, Republicans by the way, also invited immigrants to come in and work jobs that incumbent Americans would not take in places incumbent Americans would not live. Communities like Springfield, Ohio, have been reborn. It is a story of America as old as the nation itself because of the immigrants, because, in the Ohio case, of the Haitians. But, of course, Susan from Sylacauga, Alabama, wants the increase in her tax base, but without all them people of color, because that is the other story of America that is as old as the nation itself. Which brings us back to Jayvee Vance. The Ohio State Representative Casey Weinstein, District 34, Akron, has called on Vance to resign because Vance actually did go on national television and tell CNN's Dana Bash, who largely redeemed herself in this interview, that he had, quote, to create stories, unquote, like the non-existent cat eaters of Springfield, Ohio. Create. He used the word create and then tried to back away from the word create later. Create stories. And then he said he would do it again.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
The senator from Ohio, stochastically terrorizing the city of Springfield, Ohio. School and university shootings threatened. Businesses closed, families hiding indoors, migrants. And there are 5,000 of them in the entire state. There aren't 20,000 in the city or 200,000 in the city of Springfield. And these overcrowded schools there are, in fact, still below pre-pandemic enrollment levels. And you have heard otherwise because J.D. Vance is a remorseless propagandist and a racist who is literally willing to torch his own state and get people who voted for him killed to benefit those he really represents, the billionaire fascists like Donald J. Trump. He has no place in government. It does not appear he even has Trump's excuse of insanity. Setting aside for the moment the question of the election, there must be a move to expel him from the Senate today. Because also, Springfield, Ohio is actually a dry run. In fact, it is two dry runs for things that are far, far worse. The first is Trump has now revealed the real goal here, to deport not just undocumented immigrants in this country, but the ones who are here officially and fully legally. Presumably, that was what Trump was supposed to write when he garbled the message and demanded reverse deportation. And they are already gearing up the next locations to try this out in. The ones in Alabama I mentioned before, and at Charleroi in Pennsylvania, where the racists' true fears are being realized, where immigrants are fitting in, assimilating, and by the way, working harder than the people who had already lived there and rebirthing their communities. The second dry run is more dire still. I am patching things together here, not quoting inside information. But if you wanted to see if you could get MAGA thugs to disrupt Election Day by targeting a town or a city or part of a swing state that was heavily Democratic, say Atlanta, Georgia, or it could be Madison, Wisconsin, could be anywhere. If you wanted to estimate now just how much of an impact you could have merely by spreading plausibly deniable rumors about immigration, terrorism, cat eating. If you wanted to make bomb threats, well, here's your dry run. Sick your cowardly terrorists on throw a dart. Find a map and throw a dart. Oh, Springfield, Ohio. Sick your cowardly terrorists on Springfield, Ohio, and see how many people they will threaten to kill. And how many locations, like schools, universities, public offices, locations where there will be polling stations on November 5th. Find out how many of them will have to be shut down, how loud you have to get before those idiots who believe in you will stochastically act on your behalf and terrorize a community on Election Day. Because for all of the hand-wringing over the falsehoods about Springfield, Ohio, that Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican who is retiring, made, he could not bring himself to blame Trump or the national GOP, nor could the Republican Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno, or Lieutenant Governor John Husted, or Attorney General Yost, or Secretary of State LaRose, because this is a dry run. Because Trump's chances of winning, and increasingly Republican Senate, House, and gubernatorial chances of winning are shrinking with every passing day. And Trump will, and they will, resort to anything to change that. Remember at all times, Trump's life literally depends on winning this election. His, nobody else's, his. He will kill you to win. He would kill Jayvee Vance to win. Scaring people into staying home on November 5th is, in fact, one of the gentler and lazier of Republican options to affect the election. It is also, happily, one that can be thwarted by early voting. Version of that from Brian Ray. It'll have its world premiere at the end of this bulletin. I'll play it in full. The lead, by the way, is 6. ABC News Ipsos. Harris, 52. Trump, 46 among likely voters, and that is without a debate bump yet. And remember Nate Silver's actually useful observation that debate bumps often take weeks to show up. Interestingly, in the ABC poll, her lead did grow 1 point among all adults. The real polling news, the Des Moines Register last bothered to look in June when it was Trump 50, Biden 32. In polling that finished last Wednesday and was published yesterday, it is Trump 47, Harris 43. That's likely voters. Among Iowa women, they favor her 53-46, and the poll shows intent to vote jumps of between 6 and 10 points for various key demographics: city dwellers, women, college degree holders, and those under 45. Now between 6 and 10 points more likely to vote than they were in June. Iowa may be a swing state. In Wisconsin, Insider Advantage polls. A month ago, Trump by 1 is now Harris by 2 likely voters. At YouGov and Tip Insights have the national race at Harris +4. Morning Consult, Harris +5. ABC, Harris +6. The other headlines: Laura Loomer has threatened to sue Bill Maher for defamation for implying Friday night that she's having an affair with Trumpy. First of all, who in the hell do I root for here? I mean, what kind of choice is this? Laura Loomer or Bill Maher? How about just a really long, painful discovery? But more importantly, there is actually a story in this. Loomer, in threatening to sue him for defamation, is claiming that somebody is having a relationship with Trump defames that person. My God, she's right about something. But for the previous Laura Loomer, Marjorie Taylor Greene, not so much. 8:08 a.m. The ABC whistleblower who claimed Kamala Harris was given debate questions ahead of the debate has died in a car crash, according to news reports. 12:35 p.m. This story appears to be false, and I'm glad to hear it. Whatever you say, Barney Rubble. According to news reports from I Made This Up News, the whistleblower has in fact died in Ohio because he was eaten by cats. Those are the Countdown Monday headlines for this, the including today, 51st day until the 2024 election. A full edition of Countdown tomorrow. Bulletins as the news warrants. Till then, I'm Keith Olbermann. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good luck. And as promised, a world premiere for one special listener out there named Brian Ray. It's 91 Trombones, the Riff Edition.